Good evening and welcome to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. I'm your host, the Exceptional One, Ken McClelton. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the Socialists. Tonight, we bow as the Messiah gives his final speech to the world. All hail Obama, for he has brought unto us great peace and prosperity. Not! We'll be talking about that a little bit later on, and beginning in our first hour, we'll be talking with none other than Dr. John Fuller of ChallengeDiversity.com about hate crime laws and other racial irrationalities that need to be broached, hopefully in this particular season of the Trump era. So glad to have you with us tonight. Also, Janis Hall will be with us for a bit this particular evening. We'll be talking about Switzerland. Apparently, the Swiss believe that boys and girls should swim in the same pool. They will pay a heavy price for believing that because the Mohammedans don't. That and so much more this evening on the Exceptional Conservative Show live from Washington, D.C. So glad to have Mary Brockman in our chat roll this particular evening, the Euro Pacific Bank Limited TECN chat room. Mary Brockman is my bouncer in chief. If you diss her, you diss me, you will be dismissed from our particular program. Also, so glad to have Melanie Collette in our chat room. She has a big show coming up and a huge lineup. I'm not going to give it away until maybe tomorrow night. I don't know. She has a huge lineup for next week. I'm awed, because that's just the kind of chick she is. You know what I'm saying? People respect that woman. She sends a little note via Twit, say, "I need you on my program." Toot sweet, and they show up. You know what I'm saying? So there you go. But also, my very good friend Dave Milner is with us this particular evening in the chat roll. The unpleasant blind guy that he is has a wonderful clip that I want to play for you all tonight. And so much. There's just so much. And I am very sorry if I offended anybody by what I said last night at the end regarding Pharrell. No, I'm not. I'm not sorry at all. Little punk. I say it again. He's a little punk. Listen, we got so much more tonight. So much more tonight. And to my very good friend, Tawny Farini, she was in town today and I missed her. I wanted to have drinks with her. I am very, very sorry. I literally overslept. And Melanie, Dave, and Mary know that my schedule is literally 22 out of 24 hours. And then sometimes I crash sleep. And I did that today. And I so apologize. But I'm going to try to connect with you at a different time period. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you know how we start this particular groove off. And I'm telling you, Tawny Farini has a wonderful book out of common sense about finance. Wonderful tool. Get it for yourself and your kids. Now, we start off this particular show always with our kids leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. That is to show our value and honor for our particular country and for the many sacrifices that people have made to keep it a free nation. For those who are watching via live stream, right over there you see the big flag right there. You can put your right hand over your heart and pledge to it. And for those who are watching us via Ustream, right behind me are the little flags. You can put your right hand over your heart and pledge to those. For those like me who are looking right into the screen, there's a flag right in front of me, and I'm pledging to it, just in case y'all want to know. Here we go. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance go, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you do it right there. And we're going to put this away. Put it right here, right behind me. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how we in America have gotten along so far with this idea that you literally can, well, I don't know how we say this, literally need a hate crime law. That you really need to tell somebody that you hated them to kill them. You know what I'm saying? So tonight we have a very special guest on, Dr. John Fuller, who is joining us to talk about the problems of diversity. The party you are trying to reach does not accept unidentified calls. All right. Okay. All right. All right. So we're gonna have to try this a different way, ladies and gentlemen. And hopefully this works. Okay. Hopefully this works. I'm the kind of resourceful individual that does not believe that you should give up on anything. That you need to fight for everything. And by golly, whatever it takes to win, win. So we're going to contact Dr. John Fuller. Here we go. There we go. We're going to try this. Good evening, Dr. Fuller. This is Ken McClenton from the Exceptional Conservative Show.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening to you. So glad to have you on our program tonight.
Yeah, so glad to be on with you.
Listen, you are well known for your thoughts on the areas of diversity in our country. And I want you to tell everybody, first and foremost, what is Challenge Diversity all about?
Well, in my book that I just had published, Challenging Diversity, I'm actually challenging diversity education that was created about 30 years or so ago, and its epic failure to improve race relations. Because throughout the decades, diversity education has been typically on businesses, Fortune 500s, and federal government just forced upon them in mandatory diversity classes where they've actually almost totally eliminated any discussion on race or race relations, mostly just either a feel-good class, diversity is good for you, like some type of medication, or targeting white males, particularly in classes, which they shut them down over the years. And I have developed a race relations dialogue now that I've done across the country within the last year that has people talking, and that's what we have failed to do since Dr. King's assassination. So that's how I'm challenging diversity in that aspect, is because I feel like the message was always us versus them, versus my message is that it's all about us. So that's how I'm challenging it, and I feel like it's working. Being a white male in this business, I'm actually a absolute minority in diversity education, but I love being in the arena, working for Johns Hopkins, and also now with the Veterans Administration. Going across the country in front of thousands of people, you can open a lot of doors that weren't open before, and that is, I see that happening.
Exactly. Well, Dr. Fuller, got to ask you here, have race relations improved in the past 8 years, or have they gotten far worse?
Well, they haven't improved at all, and a lot of that is due to what I call the caldera of race relations issues that remained under the surface. And it took things like Ferguson and other tragic incidents that happened. In fact, my very first race relations dialogue was out in St. Louis last April, a year after the Ferguson event. And I had people that worked at the VA facility there that lived in Ferguson, and it was the day, well, it was a year to the date that Michael Brown was shot. And that Sunday when I flew in, another person was shot in Ferguson during a smaller protest that they had going on you of a VA employee. Well, of course, people bring those emotions into the workplace, but they don't talk about them. So it's really just a caldera that's below the volcano, and it wasn't that act itself that happened in Ferguson, because as those employees said in the class, or the dialogue that we were having, those issues have been going on for decades, and that was the first time, and I have that as an actual comment, that they have ever sat down with people from different races and talked about race relations.
Wow.
So when they were at that facility for over 20 years, so all the diversity education that they'd had in the past, they never spoke about it.
Well, is it, and forgive me, because I'm just a very simple man. Is it possible to truly have race relations in conversations if you're only looking at it from one purview?
Yeah, it's very difficult, and that's why dialogue is so essential. There's a difference between sitting in a class and having somebody pontificate to you for 2 hours versus sitting, like I do, and have people in the cafe settings and talking with each other on a specific race relations issue. And then what we do is we trade places after 20 minutes and then get perspectives from the entire class as we go along. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're only coming from one perspective, you're not really listening to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
You're only, because we think like lawyers. So when you hear something that you don't like, you don't really listen to that person because you've already got your response already fired up. You're wanting to come back with something, and it doesn't make any difference what the other person is saying. But if you're in a dialogue, and the purpose of the dialogue is to listen to understand, that's a phenomenon that I would recommend to anybody, because in my nearly 30 years of diversity education, I have never seen anything like this at all. Have the absolute positive results. All of the evaluations that were given from all locations so far, and I just completed 2 other ones in Massachusetts last week. 100% positive, absolutely 0 negative on those things, and you can't do that in any class. No matter what you do.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the great honor and privilege of talking with Dr. John Fuller. Challenging diversity education is his goal and aim, as ours. He has a website called challengingdiversity.com, as well as a book out regarding that pursuit. I want to ask you, sir, in terms of the President Barack Obama, as he has given us his great litany of reasons to love and admire him on the way out the door, do you believe that from the very beginning that he provoked the ires of racism in this country with his conversations, or at least thoughts on how the police handled an arrest of his fellow professor in Massachusetts?
Yeah, I think that his was also part of the epic failure, because he had an opportunity, and I was actually hoping, I didn't vote for the man, but I was actually hoping that it would work as far as having a post-racial type of dialogue that could have been started throughout the country. But he failed to do that, and he did that starting in Boston with Professor Gates, and the police acted stupidly, and it just created an atmosphere throughout his entire presidency. And he did some good things, such as having the Million Man Black March, and created a program for younger black men. But those were minuscule compared to what it should have been, and he could have led the efforts in this. And just as other civil rights leaders, and I have this in my book also, Jesse Jackson particularly, it was probably one of the most disappointing people to me, because I grew up in the 60s, and I saw a lot of what was going on there. And Jackson marched with King, it was with him. But when Dr. King was assassinated, that went completely the opposite way. So instead of having people that were working together hand in hand, you had finger pointing going on, and that's all it amounts to, is that you see a person that could have made so much difference, such as President Obama, and he failed to do it. I mean, and we have nearly the latest poll by the Washington Post and Pew Research, over 70% of the people in this country feel like we have a race relations issue.
Yes.
And it's not because people are racist or discriminatory in nature. It's because we've not taught. And because when you get people together, as I've seen now over this past year, it's just an amazing outcome, because people get I didn't realize that, or I wasn't aware of that really have to adapt to that, but it's still the same thing. The same results are there if we talk. So yes, it was a failure of President Obama. It was probably one of my bigger disappointments amongst many. And how he can go to Chicago now and even talk about that is
he has a certain amount of kahuna, hubris, in order to do what he does. But let's go along the lines of for my download listeners out of Washington, D.C., New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Dallas. Let's just pursue this point of view. Racism does exist in America, does it not?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And how would you define racism, sir?
Well, I think racism is an internal hatred that people have for people of a different race or ethnicity background because it's something that is developed throughout their lifetime. I don't believe, just as I do in my own cultural classes that I do outside of the dialogues, you're not born a racist. You have that embedded in you from your childhood. I grew up in rural Indiana, and our community would be considered a racist community today and that's all I heard growing up was this or this race is inferior or that one was. But yet my father was a Methodist minister, so it's very it's a it's a dichotomy of issues there because you're growing up, you think that this is okay, and then what changed me was when I put my foot on the Marine Corps recruit depot, and I was standing amongst a group of multicultural recruits. So that my whole life changed because of the association, and I think that the racism that exists today, there is small pockets. I mean, the Washington Post, for instance, and I know you're from Washington D.C.
Yes.
You've seen articles there that there have been pages about the alt-right and the right nationalists and things. I realize there's only about 6,000 people across the country that's a member of the KKK or whatever. That's just such an irrelevant group. Yet they bolstered that up to be something that now they're painting a brush that if you're somehow conservative then you're alt-right or you support Donald Trump because he has an alt-right member on his team or those types of things. And it's created a lot of tension. I mean, the VA has 360,000 employees across the country, and there's a tension in these facilities. I speak to the directors. I know what they're feeling. And then they don't know where to start. So that's why this dialogue is important. That we have to have. Racism does exist, but it isn't to the degree that it was, 30, 40 years ago. We've had 50 years of civil rights laws and EEO laws. I was an EEO investigator myself, and yet I went down the line. I protected the process, which most EEO investigators do not do, including the really needs to be reworked Title IX in universities because they take the person that's making the accusation at full face value, and they don't look at the due process of individuals and there are many false claims. So given that, I mean, we should have had a lot of improvement even in that category, but that's another issue.
Yeah, and we're talking with Dr. John Fuller, and thank God for your service to our country, sir, who has an excellent book out, Challenging Diversity, and we're encouraging you to get that book, and we're going to have him later on explain to you how you can go about purchasing that book the best way, the best means of doing so. But there are those who are sitting around listening to this show and saying, well, we are due because you admit as a white man that racism exists. We deserve payback. We deserve reparations. And until we get reparations, there won't be any peace. And until we have peace, you will always be racist in our eyes, and nothing you do will ever make any difference. How do we overcome that? And is that true?
Well, it's true in a lot of people's minds, and I can understand to a certain degree how they may feel about that because of the history of our country. But yet the history of our country, I mean, I'm a member of the Sons of the American Revolution, and my ancestors go way back beyond the Mayflower.
Yeah.
So, but my wife, her grandparents 2020. So when you talk reparations to multiple groups in this country that may happen to be white, they weren't part of that type of scenario from the start of our country and had anything to do with slavery in that regard. So, I mean, yes, they benefited from slavery's impact of helping build this nation and that. But, you know, you're talking to people that really, they weren't part of any of that history. And it's hard to even have that come up in people's minds. First of all, it never will happen.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to really, you know, people hate to hear the words move beyond this, because if we don't work together and not work as separate communities, and that the black community, have you ever heard of a white community? I mean, it's just those type of things that I bring out in one of my chapters of identities and communities of color. Well, what if I'm a white guy that lived in a community of color?
Yes.
Do I count? I mean, I you know, it's that type of mentality, I think, that it is so divisive, and the rhetoric is so hateful at times that, you know, I feel it as a challenge. But yet, as a white male leading the race relations effort, this is the only one in the federal government, by the way, that's doing this. And I'm the only one.
Wow.
So why did it take me, a baby boomer, a white male, blonde hair, blue eyes, going on to race relations? I mean, it's beyond me why all of this was just swept away. And you know, those things about reparations came up in the dialogues and things, but to the letter, minorities and everybody that were there said, no, that's, you know, we got to move on from that, because we all recognize that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, just recently we had Congressman Clay Lacey in Missouri hang a painting of a police officer as a pig pointing his gun at black protesters in a piece of art that was submitted to him by a high schooler in his district. And that was taken down by Congressman Hunter last week, given back to Lacey in his office. And apparently Lacey says, I'm going to put that thing back up. Have we used false narratives of history to give us permission to, through the First Amendment, propagandize and indoctrinate people for racial hatred?
I think we have, and that type of incident really just is shouting fire in a theater type of exclusion. Because if you're going to put something out that's going to inflame people, and those are your representatives in Congress that represents everybody in your district, you think that everybody thinks that?
Yeah.
That should not be in our nation's capital, for one thing. And I applaud, you know, them from taking it down. If he wants to hang that at his house,
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, people hang all kinds of things. That what you do in your house, that's yours. But you starting to do it in a public display, then you're inflamed. That's another us versus them versus all about us. Because if you're doing that, then you're taking a side, and that's, you know, there's a difference between having a difference of opinion and having police officers. My daughter's a police officer in San Francisco, so, you know, I would take immediate offense to that. You know, that type of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. With how do we talk, Dr. Fuller, race relations, and without the nonsense of appeasement? How do we talk race relations prudently to one another so that we have a true solution-based effort rather than stoking fires and raising money through letters, fund letters, to certain constituencies throughout America?
Well, the dialogue has to be with committed individuals, and the people that the hundreds now that I've had in my sessions, they want to do something to make it better. So you're going to need committed people that are working together from all races. They're talking. One of the questions, the leading questions that I ask them is, how do you feel that political correctness has played a part in stopping affected race relations?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, do you prefer straight talk with respect, or do you withhold your speech for somehow thinking that you're just going to continue the dialogue by not really saying everything that you want to say? Well, people say they would rather have straight talk with respect, not in your face, not anything other than this is how I feel, because what you want to do is have the outcome of recognizing commonalities. Now you can work on solutions together, because basically we all want the same thing. We want our children raised in a safe environment.
Yep.
We want to be able to practice our religion if we have one. We want education for our kids. It's just all of these things that we have in common together. It just seems like those are pushed aside, and we're dealing with hateful rhetoric that accomplishes nothing. And I tell people that people can protest, but what does that actually do? It may bring awareness to it, but then you've got to go beyond that. You can't just protest something and not have a workable type of solution in mind. I hate this, I hate that, I hate you, I hate Donald Trump, I hate all this stuff. Okay, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But now what we're going to do together is fix it. Well, I don't want to work with you. That's the type of division that's out there right now. And it shouldn't be. I mean, we, like I said, 50 years of civil rights laws, and we're still talking about race. I mean, it's just perplexing to me to see this going on in this country still.
Well, there's some that say, well, as a result of racism, that I can't get ahead. It doesn't matter what you say or what you do. It's your thinking towards me stops me from being everything I want to be. First and foremost, is that true? And then secondly, how do you fight mind games in a land where there's freedom?
Well, I think that the scenario you said could be true among those smaller percentage that are actually racist and that they are acting that way in their positions of power because they have the privilege in order to deny you that opportunity. But for the most part, you can achieve what you want to achieve. In the federal government, we have many locations that have, let's say, African Americans that are twice or three times the percentage of what they are in the American population working in facilities. And nobody is holding people back if you get the education, if you have the drive and the desire to move forward. You can do that. And I believe in the goodness of people. I know that there's some really bad eggs out there, but those are becoming few and far between now.
Yes.
And so we can't use that as an overarching mantra of that I'm being held back, because to me, you're living in the past. There's too many laws there. There's too many things that are going on. But what I see is also anger amongst individuals that they don't think, well, I don't have to try because I'm not going to get ahead anyway. So I'm just going to be a mediocre employee. So it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
That they're doing that, and managers say that to me across the country. It's like, well, I promote the best possible, and I think that any veteran would want to have the best possible employee that works at a hospital that's treating him. We have enough issues already with the VA. We don't need to hire people that don't care and they just want to get promoted because they feel like they deserve to. I mean, that mentality has been there since I've been in the business, and even. It was refreshing being in the military for 26 years because you didn't really see that. I mean, it was something that we all worked together. When the flag went up, combat, it didn't make any difference. You worked together.
Yeah.
It didn't make any difference what race you were. And it's becoming more and more that in business and federal government as well. But you still see that mentality. And it's like, well, I shouldn't even try now because I'm not even going to get ahead anyway. I said, well, you know what? You got to continue to try. You know how many times I got turned down for a job? I was a poor kid from Indiana, so I mean, it was a struggle all the way. Nobody handed me anything. I got mine on the GI Bill, worked all the way up through doctor's degree. But I did that through hard work. It wasn't somebody saying, "Oh, here you are. We're going to pay for your education. We're going to, make all these available things for you." I was actually discriminated against in several locations because I was white.
Exactly. Well, before we go, because you have a tremendous book out, and I want you to come back in a few weeks as the Trump administration begins, so that we can talk about where we go from here with race relations in America. But hate crimes. The young man, the mentally, developmentally delayed uh, young man, white man, 18 years old, who was beaten and tortured in Chicago by 4 blacks, 2 women, 2 men. Um, why is that not a hate? Why did it take so long for people to say that that was a hate crime? And do we need hate crimes anyway when we look at the veracity of the decadence of that particular action by those 4 people?
Well, I wrote in my blog that we should retire the hate crime laws because I really feel like that's another divisive type of thing. It was almost as if the news pundits were either defending it. One person said, well, it was just a bunch of young people that the situation got away from them. Really?
Really?
You know, I mean, to me, I'm opposed to it because it's the cause celeb of the left, for one thing. And, you know, I respect people that are liberals, and I do actually respect it. But when they start going into that, well, it's not really a hate crime because if they hated Donald Trump, then it wasn't a hate crime. I mean, that was another one. That's why it took me a little while to write my blog on that one because it was just really something. Well, would it have made any difference to the victim as he was enduring the torture because it was a robbery attempt or a gang retaliation in Chicago? Mm-hmm. I mean, they should be concerned about the 4,300 shootings that they have there in Chicago, 762 murders this year or in 2016. And worry about those hate crimes, if they are hate crimes. But just, they're crimes. And they should be adjudicated based upon the crime itself. And if you're going to add things on, well, you did this because you were black, or you're white, or you're gay, or you're what, I mean, they're doing it because they hated the person regardless of what the motive was. That's what it is. And you know, in court, they're going to say, well, they're going to argue the motive over the crime of passion or whatever. Let them do that.
Yeah.
But as far as the crime is concerned, dish out the punishment of what the crime was committed. And let's go with that. Being one race or another, one special group or another makes no difference of the outcome and the suffering that the crime was, committed against.
Exactly. Murder is murder. It doesn't matter any other way other to say that. Listen, how can people get your great new book that's out? And how can people start reading your material, your blog information?
Well, you can go on challengingdiversity.com, and everything is there. I have my actual blog that I write, and the information on the book and upcoming appearances that I may have, and locations that I'm going to. It's available on Amazon and all the online bookstores, so you can get it online as well. But just go to the website, and you can see that. If you have any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer those. There's a contact page there. I will answer every email that I receive, as I do in the VA too. So it's fun. This is my business. This is my passion. I want to have things improve. And if we can work together, we have an opportunity. If we work apart, it's going to be checkmate.
There you go. Absolutely right. Dr. Fuller, thank you so much for being on the program with us today, and we look forward to having you back in a few weeks to talk about the Trump administration and where do we go from here, especially with the VA.
That'll be a lively one, I'm sure.
It's gonna be fun. Thank you so much. Good night. God bless. All right, Dr. John Fuller. Oh, what a great honor that is. Racism in America. Yeah, what are you going to do to control people's minds? Make them liberals. We'll be right back with more of the best in Urban Conservative Talk right after these messages. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening tonight.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, TECN Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than TECN Sean and TECN Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late night conservative talk, TECN Radio. the best late night conservative talk show in America. In America. In America. And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show on hppundit.com live, SHR Media live, and as well, none other than Red Nation Rising at 2 a.m. on the Liberty Channel. We know some of you all will be leaving in about 8 minutes, but we thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Stay tuned for more of the best in urban conservative talk.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, coming soon to ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Thank you for taking the call, and I really enjoy ICRN, your station, the station I listen to all day.
No, yeah. Okay, thanks, Dominique, for that. I don't.
From the war front to the streets of our nation's capital, men of faith, Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor, and Kenneth McClinton, the exceptional conservative, bring both constitutional gravitas and spiritual perspective on today's issues to the most influential Christian urban talk show. It's a new day on New Day, Black and Red.
Good morning,
I'm Michael Wright.
and I'm Shannon Wright.
Okay, folks, that's not how it goes. I think I'm Shannon, and
I think
you're
so.
Michael.
Yeah.
Okay. We are The Right Way with Shannon and Mike,
Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time
live on SHR Media,
and on TECN,
where we'll be talking about all kinds of things,
from sports and politics
the food and entertainment,
to money
family,
and anything else in between.
community, holidays, all kinds of things.
It'll be great. Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
It's a love story like no other. From God's heart to yours. And for 30 years, it's been at the heart of every book, Bible, CD, gift, and resource from ChristianBook.com. Over 500,000 products, always at the very best value. ChristianBook.com. Everything Christian. Because it's our story, too.
From day's first light till night's last glimmer, your satisfaction is our responsibility. On the range or in the field of duty, you can rely on Brownell's lifetime guaranteed gun parts, tools, and supplies. Anytime, any place. It's how we've done business since 1939. Brownell's.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We are certainly not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then to the socialist. So glad that you are listening to us live. If you go to TECS on the Exceptional Conservative Show and you scroll down, first and foremost, you see my big face on the Ustream. So hopefully that doesn't scare you away. And then you scroll down, you go to the Euro Pacific Bank Limited TECN chat room. There you have some great minds of conservative talk in there. You got Dave Milner, the unpleasant blind guy, Melanie Collette, Money Talk with Melanie, White Mamba, who someday I will convince to do a radio program on our network. Also, Mary Brockman, who is my bouncer in chief. If you diss her, you diss me, and you will be dismissed. And I'm telling you, just great human beings who are listening to this particular program from around the world. You'll see the globe right next to you. All those little red lights light up for people who are listening to the program around the world. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, there is a gentleman who is sincerely one of America's great commentators. And I don't get a chance to rub it in his face as often as I can that I am going on Thursday to eat the Exceptional One burger in front of him. I don't get that opportunity very often, but when I do, I like to. So I want to tell him, Dave, Thursday. I know what White Mamba said in the chat room. I know what he said. All right, in the Euro Pacific Bank Limited TECN chat room. I know what he said, but I got news for you. I am going to eat that right in front of your face on I'm going to do it tomorrow. No, is it tomorrow? No, Thursday. I'm going to do it Thursday, man, when the professor's on with us. Ladies and gentlemen, my very good friend, the unpleasant blind guy, Dave Milner. Great commentary.
Time for an unpleasant blind guy, conservative bite. There comes a time in the life of a person, an organization, or a nation when deeply held principles must not only be stated, but must be declared not just as words, but as actions. As we stand in the first month of 2017, at the end of one presidential administration and the beginning of another, we have to recognize that our work is not done. Even now, progressives on both the left and the right and their Islamic allies are working to bring down civilization. Horrific crimes against the disabled are not being reported in our media. Children are being brainwashed through the agency of anti-extremism laws. And free speech is under attack throughout the civilized world, while those who would plunge that world back 1,500 years into the Dark Ages are promoted and protected. The elites have behind them money, influence, and legions of well-meaning people who link their personal nobility to forwarding the Islamo-progressive agenda. Those of us who would oppose them know our work has only begun. So as we prepare to tell the world the truth, we rededicate ourselves to this task. I originally made the following as a dedication to the English Defense League on the part of their American friends, but it applies to all of us who would use nonviolent means to promote Judeo-Christian ideals and the time-proven liberties and freedoms that come with self-rule. Adapted from President Abraham Lincoln's message to Congress, concluding remarks, Washington, D.C., December the 1st, 1862. Fellow citizens, we cannot escape history. We will be remembered in spite of ourselves. No personal significance or insignificance can spare one or another of us. The fiery trial through which we pass will light us down in honor or dishonor to the latest generation. We say we are for life. The world will not forget that we say this. We know how to save life. The world knows we do know how to save it. We, even we here, hold the power and bear the responsibility. In giving freedom to the slave, we assure freedom to the free. Honorable alike in what we give and what we preserve, we shall nobly save or meanly lose the last best hope for earth. The way is plain, peaceful, generous, just. A way which, if followed, the world will forever applaud and God must forever bless.
And that's why Dave Milner is one of America's great commentators. Thank you, Dave, for that wonderful, poignant message to us of our future if we pursue it with our heart, mind, soul, and strength. Ladies and gentlemen, Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, I'm sorry. Barack Hussein Obama is apparently deliberating before the masses who are not dead in Chicago. Yes, Chicago, home of the 762. Apparently, he only has time enough to visit Chicago when he has to give you a speech. Apparently, he is in his last gasp. I mean, he's. A lot of people say I talk a lot. That I have a big mouth, and I do. I do have a big mouth, and I do talk a lot. But I must say, without a shadow of a doubt, I hold no record in comparison to what Obama does. Somebody tell me how many people were actually in attendance who were alive in Chicago, because I think the number is dwindling. The number of people who are actually living. I think there are more people dead in Chicago today thanks to gun control than there actually is a living body. I don't know. I don't understand. I just don't understand why you would hold it at this point. I believe if I were president of the United States, my final speech to America would have been right before Christmas. And it would have been one of inspiration. It would have been one of hope for the next administration. It would have been one that sought the better good than to point a finger at how great I am. I believe I would have pointed to some of the successes I had as president, but it would point more anecdotally to the successes that Americans have had. I have a great preponderance of thought as to why you would wait until 1 week before you're kicked to the curb eternally. And if the masses are left in control of your history, not your demagogic friends who make up the mainstream media, but literally, if there were those who were left to pursue exactly what you've done, I wouldn't have to give. You wouldn't have to give a speech. You literally would not have to. This man entered with 2 wars, one coming to a close in Iraq, and the other one still to flame in Afghanistan, and we leave now with 5, including Syria. We have boots on the ground in Syria. We have a 20 trillion. I know I'm rounding it up by maybe 1 or 2 points in terms of billions, but give me that grace. We have a $20 trillion deficit. $20 trillion deficit. Oh, I'm sorry, debt. Debt. I've been corrected in terms of saying deficit and debt. Okay. We have a $4 trillion deficit. Probably a 4, yeah. Is it 4 trillion? It's up there. Ladies and gentlemen, Claudia, I'm glad to have you in here. Love you, dear. And people can now sign in as guests in my chat roll. So, thank you, Dave Milner. Debt versus deficit. The bottom line is, it's incorrigible to think that this man has anything to say to the American people today. Last month, you should have been speaking to us as to why you abstained in your vote for Israel at the UN. Why did it take you 72 hours to say anything about the developmentally delayed man who was beaten to the core in Chicago, tortured, walking the streets, torn clothes in the middle of the cold? Do you know how cold it is in Chicago? I don't know what he could possibly say to America, when Obamacare has been so soundly rejected, when EPA's grasp on the coal mines of West Virginia, Ohio, and Virginia have been so suddenly rejected, when the people of the Good West have gotten tired of their heroes being shot by the FBI because they want to protect their lands. People have rejected the fact that we could have had oil coming from Canada, going through Houston, creating jobs at a time period where 100 million people are out of work, out of the labor force. I know all of you down low listeners are telling me, but Ken, he did such a good job. Look at the unemployment rate. It's down to 4.9%. Wonderful. The real unemployment numbers show that we're somewhere in the area of about 10.5% to maybe 11% unemployment. Do you not think that the economy has changed so much so that Macy's and Sears and other brick and mortar retail stores are closing? Why are they closing? Because people aren't shopping there anymore. And why aren't they shopping there anymore? Because they're not employed. It takes money to spend money. I know you never heard that one before. So when we look at President Barack Obama in Chicago, a place where more people have been murdered than soldiers in Afghanistan, I want you to understand the term irony. It is simply ironic that one of the most progressive propagandists in the history of America was elected president, and all he has to show for it is a bloody t-shirt from Chicago, a pen, and a phone that's running out of minutes. I don't need to listen, but in the latter quarter of our particular program, latter half of our program, I'm going to talk even more about how disappointing it is the gentleman that we had hoped would have been someone to look forward to as someone who could have brought people together. Of all times, that would have been the one moment. But actually, he is the rudimentary, disdainful fruit left over from the harsh civil rights coup of 1960, when the conservatives stopped fighting for civil rights and allowed the liberals to take control. I hope that you like what you got. But I also hope that you remember so that you, over the next 4 generations, never put in someone like Obama or Carter again. I hope you remember. But you probably won't. We'll be right back with more of the best, airing live on SHR Media, live on HP Pundit Media, also on Ustream and Livestream from Washington, D.C., The Exceptional Conservative Show. We'll be right back after these interruptions.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. So we're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage that we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and green. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. Once the fish is ready, then our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused heat burgers. So we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're gonna grill it to perfection. After I flip the burgers, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're gonna add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger to spice it up a bit.
Get ready, folks. Get ready. This time I'm serious. 6339. Wait, oh my God, I forgot the address. Let me get the address. Oh, I am very serious. I am so caught up on the fact that I didn't do the eat last Thursday. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland. And for that mistake, I am going to put infused.com in our chat room. And I do apologize for that. 6339 Allentown Road. Because a lot of people are going to say, well, that's why you didn't get the burger, because you forgot the address. 63 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland. Thursday night, I am going to get that burger. And I am going to eat it on the air. Also, one day I might have a TECN staff meeting, owners meeting, right there at Infused Restaurant. Some of America's great commentators, just all meeting right there and eating some of the best food in Washington, D.C. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland. It is Infused Restaurant. It is good eating. Good eating. I will tell you that. We'll be right back with more of the best right after these messages.
From day's first light till night's last glimmer, your satisfaction is our responsibility. On the range or in the field of duty, you can rely on Brownell's lifetime guaranteed gun parts, tools, and supplies. Anytime, any place. It's how we've done business since 1939. Brownell's.
Meet Jason. He was really excited to start growing his business with social media until he realized how complex and time-consuming social media can be. It's difficult to manage multiple social networks and accounts. It's hard to monitor what's happening on social media, follow discussions, and engage with new followers. It's time-consuming to publish updates throughout the day, track and analyze how effective posts are, respond to fans and followers in a timely manner, and gain new customers. The list seems to go on and on. Jason quickly becomes discouraged. How could he ever do all of this and still run a business? He was ready to give up on social media until he found eClincher, the easiest way to manage social media. Jason was amazed how straightforward and simple it is to use eClincher. With eClincher, Jason is now able to leverage the power of social media without having to dedicate several hours a day. He can easily organize all his social media accounts in one place, efficiently plan and schedule his posts ahead of time, engage with his followers, understand the effectiveness of his efforts with powerful analytics, find new customers, and much more. In order to tell your business's story, simplify the process of managing your social media, and analyze results, sign up with eClincher today.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold.
With home values up and interest rates near all-time lows, you probably know that now is a great time to refinance, like the Johnsons, who saved $436 a month.
$436 a month?
It's simple. Just go to LendingTree.com, compare loan offers for free, and see how much you could save in just 5 minutes.
I thought you said the bank gave you the best rate.
Yeah.
Lending Tree. When banks compete, you win.
I have to do everything myself.
Someone is sleeping on the couch tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live for the nation's capital. We are certainly not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republicans and then the socialists. I have some concerns regarding Obamacare that's happening and through the U.S. House and Senate. I hope I get a chance to talk with you all about that. But we have come to a time period that I enjoy very much so on Tuesday nights. And that is Janis Hall, the J Hall World Report, coming to us live to talk about the issues of the day, world issue. She's our world commentator, the official world commentator of the exceptionalconservativeshow.com. Janis Hall, just a few moments here. 1 ringy dingy, 2 ringy dingies, 3 ringy dingies. J Hall, 4 ringy dingies. Is it Janis? I mean, and Indian signals. Do we have Janis? Okay, we don't have. Not there. Okay, we're gonna try another. We're gonna try another one here. Okay. Okay. This is absolutely wonderful, I tell you. We're gonna try this one. Here we go. Okay, that's not it. Oh man, we're gonna try this one more time. Janis Hall, the J Hall World Report. I hope we didn't miss her. She's been traveling. Okay, so she's just getting in. See what we can do in terms of getting her on the air. I think she's still traveling at this point. Good evening, Janis Hall.
Hello.
Good evening, Janis.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
I
can hear you.
I can hear you now. Janis, I know you are traveling and you are such a great trooper to actually want to be on the program this evening. God bless you, woman.
Thanks. There's just so much to talk about, you know? So much.
There is. First and foremost, Happy New Year to you once more. And how is the new year treating you per se?
I think the new year so far is pretty good. I mean, I've been in California for the last several weeks. It's been raining here a lot, which is, you know, as advertised.
Exactly.
No, I think so far so good. I mean, like all New Year's, you start thinking about it. 17, we just like, how did this happen? What happened to 2016?
Yep.
How are we here yet? You know, it's crazy.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Just as crazy as Switzerland.
Just as crazy.
Just as crazy. I wanted to talk with you about Switzerland tonight, and apparently the Swiss believe in the pool being open to all genders. And tell us...
At the same time.
Yeah! Tell us exactly why that is creating a problem for the Mohammedans.
Alrighty. So, the Swiss, you know, are trying to teach kids how to swim.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. I think we can agree. And the Swiss said that they, essentially the boys and girls had to be in, which, of course, the more Muslims in keen about, and they file a petition, and I think it was the International Human Rights Court, essentially saying that they're that essentially the boys and girls had to be at the swimming pool together, and they lost, and the Swiss won. So, yes, just another example of lack of integration.
Now,
Europe essentially trying to fix this problem, but not really understanding what the problem actually is.
I don't find it a problem going to the pool and seeing women there. I don't know. Just do you? Do you have a problem going to the pool and seeing men there?
No, I don't.
No, see, there you go. So what's the problem? Why do they fight so hard against equality?
You're asking the wrong person.
Oh goodness, Janis, want to ask you also about Afghanistan. Since remember, President Obama said that would be a war that he would end in his first year in office. Has that worked out for him?
I mean, not really. Not really. I mean, yes, I guess you could say that he ended the war. We're not really involved anymore, and it's not really our problem. I guess you could say the war ended in that way. But is Afghanistan safe? No.
No.
And, no. And as ISIS is, essentially being gotten rid of in Iraq and Syria, these people need another place to go. Well, Afghanistan is pretty hospitable if you're a terrorist. So, just today there was 2 bombings.
Wow.
And I think there was a total of 30 people killed, 80 injured, and I think that I have said it before, but I will say it again, that I think Afghanistan is going to continue to get more dangerous.
Exactly.
And I would imagine that the next, somewhat base of operations for Islamic terrorists, whatever happens to arise from the ashes of ISIS, will probably be in Afghanistan. That's generally what I'm going to say for right now.
So just like Alexander the Great and the Russians before us, we're going to be tied down in Afghanistan for a long while.
Well, if we choose to involve ourselves, yeah.
One nuke might do it. I'm just at that point right here with Afghanistan. Let's just get this thing over with and come on home. I want to ask you finally, because I know that you're traveling and you need to get some rest from your long stint in California. And I pray that your family are all well and doing well and good. But in terms of the Russian DNC hack thing, really, why are we even talking about this stuff at this point?
Well, the reason we're talking about this stuff is because Obama wants to try and make as many problems for Trump and delegitimize Trump's presidency as much as, hence why we're talking about it. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, actually, that it's getting as much attention as it is. I think that it's kind of a no-brainer. Obviously, Russia is trying to hack us. Okay, we are probably also trying to hack them. It's just it's what people do these days. So I don't think that there's anything particularly significant in that. Did they leak information that was not flattering to Hillary and the DNC? Yes, I would say that they probably did, no matter what Assange says. But I don't think that it made a significant...
Yeah, it didn't make much of a difference. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about everyone else, but I mean, Donald Trump had tens of thousands of people showing up at every event he went to. I don't think.
And I mean, quite frankly, I think that there's a lot of other dirt and bad things that in Hillary's campaign and life that we talked about during this campaign. The emails are just one of many.
Wow. Listen, Janis, we love you. We thank God that you're safe and at home and resting. We look forward to you coming back next week for a fuller edition of the Janis Hall, J Hall World Report.
Absolutely. Next week, inauguration week.
Yay, team! Thank you so much. Take care. Have a very good evening.
I'm excited.
I know. I feel the excitement.
You too.
You too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Janis Hall, the J Hall World Report. It was an abbreviated. She's been traveling from California, and she said she wanted to do the show anyway. That's dedication, man. I am telling you, that's a very dedicated young woman. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back. And I do apologize for you all who are having problems with the TECN page. It looks like I'm going to have to be up tonight trying to do something to eliminate the problems on that particular page. I'm very sorry about that. We'll work on it. We'll correct it. We'll get it better. I want to thank the great people all around the world who tuned in tonight and listening to us live on the nation. Don't you dare come in my chat room and say that. Dave Milton. Mary, I think you need to block Dave because he said go Cowboys. I just want to let y'all know that I really think, and I want y'all to know that I really think, first and foremost, welcome Kraken. Ralph J. Childers is in the chat roll as well this particular evening. I want to say that I don't believe that the Cowboys will get past Green Bay this weekend. I just don't believe it. And I really believe that the Patriots are going to win the championship this year. I'm sorry. I don't see anybody from the East that's going to be able to. Atlanta may put up a lot of points, but they also give up a lot of points. So, there it is. There's the Super Bowl prophecy there. Ken, the prof made me do it. I believe it. Mary, sorry, Ken, didn't offend me. Oh, my God! My own bouncer in chief turns against me. How dare! That's well, the two real executive producers for the Exceptional Conservative Show, Mary Brockman and my wife, and they tell me, and I trust them. They tell me when I look bad. They tell me when I sound bad. And then they give these mercy credits to people who disturb me. You know what I'm saying? I got to go to a commercial break at this point. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk about the Obama legacy. And I'm going to tell you all, there will be another black president, but there will never be another black progressive president. We'll talk about that. Welcome back to Commercial Land.
From the war front to the streets of our nation's capital, men of faith, Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor, and Kenneth McClinton, the exceptional conservative, bring both constitutional gravitas and spiritual perspective on today's issues to the most influential Christian urban talk show, 9:05 p.m. Eastern, Thursdays. It's a new day on New Day. black and red.
Want to know the best kept secret in flea and tick control? It's the money you'll save with 1-800-PET-MEDS. Save 30, 40, even 50% on veterinary recommended brands for your pet, and we'll deliver them free right to your door. And now you can get the safe and effective results of a top brand for even less with new Flea for X Plus. 4-way action to kill fleas, ticks, lice, and mosquitoes. Plus, it starts working in 5 minutes to 1 hour and is backed by our 100% happy guarantee. Call now or order online from 1-800-PET-MEDS.
Have you heard the news? There's more to Prime than free 2-day shipping on shoes. There are tons of movies ready to stream. It's like living in a film lover's dream. More to Prime. More to Prime.
I want to join. How much should I pay?
You can sign up for a free trial today. So let's say it one more time. There's more to Prime.
For the professional mechanic, the home hobbyist, or the most exacting pro shop, the Auto Parts Warehouse has the inventory, quality, and price you need to bring your projects and repairs in on time and with the most savings. From engine assemblies to flywheels, air filters, and body parts, the Auto Parts Warehouse has what you need.
From day's first light till night's last glimmer, your satisfaction is our responsibility. On the range or in the field of duty, you can rely on Brownell's lifetime guaranteed gun parts, tools, and supplies. Anytime, any place. It's how we've done business since 1939. Brownell's.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the socialists. Wait a minute. Dave Miller says, Ken, 2 stadiums not to play in. Number 3, Lambeau, Seattle, and Denver. Yeah, that's true. I tell you, everybody wants to play it at FedEx Field because the Redskins are more likely to lose at home than they are away. I wish we could have an away team. We would be in the Super Bowl. If all 16 games were away, we would be 15-1. Just that very simple. We would have lost at least once, but that would have been it. Mike Mama says New England too. Can't see anyone beating them at home. Pittsburgh looking dominating. Then again, they play off depleted. They played depleted Miami fans. Exactly. I like Pittsburgh versus New England. I love that. It's going to remind me as I saw the Clemson game, not during my show. I stayed up and I watched the Clemson game at 1 o'clock on ESPN. And I'm going to tell you, that was probably one of the best national college championships I've seen. One of the best. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching Deshaun play his game so well. I enjoyed watching the Alabama quarterback as well. As woefully as he played in the first half, he really came alive in the second. And Alabama was truly knocking down the door of the front line of Clemson. They were wearing them out. And it was wonderful to watch Clemson in that second half begin to play their game. Williams has a future in the NFL, the wide receiver for Clemson. And, of course, Deshaun is going to be a number 1 pick. Congratulations to Clemson Tigers, their coaches and players, for first giving honor and glory to the Lord. From the coach all the way down. From the coach all the way down. Not a single one of them did I hear say, I like to thank my mom. No, they thank God first. Now, that is a well-oiled team right there. And if they keep, and Bullware, you the man. You the man. You should have been defensive player of the game. And there was one part of the game late in the fourth quarter when Bullware identified on a 3rd and 1 run option. He identified before the play began exactly which way the team was going to come. The Alabama was coming. And he told all of the players to move towards the left side of the clips of the Alabama Tigers team. Forgive me, Alabama team. And they all just came right up on the running back at that particular time. It was absolutely wonderful. I don't know all the names of the players because I'm not a fan of either one of those teams. But I do know this, without a shadow of a doubt. That was one of the best and most watchable college championships I've ever seen. They were literally neck for neck throughout the majority of the game. Even though Alabama took a 10-point lead at one point, they were literally neck to neck and close to one another throughout. But congratulations to Clemson's coach and to Clemson's quarterback and defensive player. You all just played a wonderful game. And listen, the Alabama player, number 94, who lost his mind in the final minutes of the game and incurred that 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Shake it off. Whatever you do in life, do not think that you were the reason why your team lost that football game. While yours will be a very poignant and prominent point that people will point to for the rest of their lives, you were not the reason Alabama lost that game. Alabama was up by 10 points, and I want you to know something. When you needed to win and play defense, the whole defense fell short. Not just you, sir. And that was the frustration of the Alabama team. It seemed as if Clemson could have been 21 points down, but it seemed that it was the destiny of Clemson to win that football game. So I want you, whatever you think in life, because I know a lot of people are getting on your back. You made the trip back down to Alabama, and people are calling your mama's house and everything, and they're mad with you, and you could have been national champ. Don't be satisfied with second place now. But what I'm saying to you is, it seemed to be destined that Clemson would win that game. And the entire defense fell short in Alabama, not just you. Your frustrations were evident, okay? While you should not have expressed them in that manner, nevertheless, it was not your fault that Alabama lost that game. But Mel needs to talk about Z. She's taking a nap now because I'm talking football. Can a man talk about football when a man want to talk about football? That's what a man does. A man is supposed to talk about football and drink. That's what a man is supposed to do. White Mamba says that kid is going to sit in Bomber Doghouse. You know that, right? He's not the scapegoat. Don't be surprised if he never plays another snap. Indeed, though, the Alabama defense got worn out after 90 Clemson snaps in their offense. Exactly. They had already 70 offensive plays by the third period. I mean, they were wearing them out. And the problem, forgive me, Melanie and Mary, but I got to say this. If I had a TV, I still wouldn't. Mary, you're supposed to watch football. College football. You don't have to watch National Football League, but college, come on. Yeah, you don't mind me snoring. Yeah, come on, Melanie. But literally, the lack of a run game by Alabama may have been the reason that they lost that game. Ball control is why they wore the daylights out of Penn State. Okay? Not Penn State. Who did they play last week? I forget who they did. Yeah, I think they played Penn State last week. Somebody tell me who they played last. Whatever it was ball control last week, and they took absolute control. They could not ball control Clemson. That was their problem. When you have a quarterback who's pretty much young and doesn't have as much experience as Clemson's quarterback did, You want to make certain that your offensive line can control the front so that you can run a lot and get at least 4 yards on your first down, 4 to 5 yards on first down. When that wasn't happening and they had to rely on their quarterback to get them through, it was over. It was over. It was a nice game, wonderful game. You don't hear me talking this way about NFL games. Because to be truthful with you, I've probably seen about 2 or 3 NFL games all season. Why? Because I don't want to watch something when I know that the NFL is doing everything it can to defame the American flag and not support our troops and as well our police. And that's why I didn't. To be honest with you, let me just tell you, I am a consummate Redskin fan. I am a sincere Redskin fan. Let me show you right here, okay? Absolutely sincere Redskins fan. You see that right there? Yeah, there you go. For those of you, there you go. I love the Redskins. Have always loved the Redskins. When others in my family told me to hate the Redskins and to love the Cowboys, I couldn't do it. I love the Redskins. But I've only seen all season 2 games that the Redskins played, and that was 2 games, 1 full game, and about 4 quarters of some other games. I didn't watch the NFL this year. I'm one of the 30% of people that turned off the NFL because of Colin Kaepernick. Talk about hate crime. The greatest hate crime that was done in 2016, well, at least one of the greatest, was what Colin Kaepernick did to save his $20 million salary. And that was not to stand when the national anthem played. So I'm just going to tell you, I didn't watch the NFL. Now, I play fantasy football, and Golf Dogs Ron will tell you, we're in the same league together. And also, I was in the same league with, I forget, just that quickly. Get ready to say his name, and then I forgot. Holger. We were the same fantasy leagues. So I didn't mind playing fantasy football. I just didn't watch the games. And you're probably asking me, how can you do so well in fantasy football and not watch the games? Well, it's just numbers, it's statistics. You just look at statistics. You follow the numbers, you can do extremely well. But I am not a fan of the NFL right now. Dave Miller says, I hear you, Ken. I have seen very little football, my friend. Get rid of the NFL network, too. I love my country more. There you go. White Mamba says, I used to be a 49ers fan. They are dead to me now and suck anyway. Moved on to the Raiders and maybe teams like New Jersey, Giants, or Green Bay and Dallas. Well, don't do Dallas, okay? And don't do the Giants. But Green Bay I'm okay with. But I'm not a 49ers fan. I'll never be a 49ers fan. I admired the West Coast offense, but Mamba says I've only seen about 5 NFL games in total this year. I'm telling you, the nonprofit that's suffering the most in 2016 was the NFL. At one point, they were paying people to watch their football games, and I assure you, when the contract comes up again, the NFL will suffer dramatically. And you know, I must tell you, the ones that suffer dramatically are not they're not the owners, because the owners have material wealth and they've worked out deals with cities in which cities pay for 90%, like in Washington, D.C., where the mayor of the District of Columbia, using taxpayers' money, is paying for 90% of a new stadium being built in Southeast Washington, D.C., or a new basketball place, where they're going to only play during the summer basketball league. 90% of the costs. So when you have billionaires who are running around knowing that their governments are going, that our governments are going to build stadiums for them, they're not really losing that much money in a given year. And their contracts work in such a fashion, they're always making money. So the ones who are losing in this race are the NFL players. The same players that will vote for Colin Kaepernick to be the most inspirational player of the year. They may glory in this for the moment, but I really feel sorry for those football players who are in retirement, and as well those who have been playing during the course of the year. Because when the contract comes up with the TV, radio, and other broadcasting groups, this is what's going to happen. They're going to look back at the numbers and say, people like Kim and Clinton didn't watch. And actually, our numbers are down 30 to 40% for the year. Now, if they were down 3 to 4%, we will renew and pay you, because that might be an abomination. Forgive me, and that might be a small happenstance. But for you to lose 30 to 40% of your viewing audience in a given year and still pay somebody $20 million to play, we don't really think you have the veracity to make a profit for us as media. So through commercials, and commercial people are not going to spend money knowing that you're not watching. So the people who get hurt the most will be the football players. They will be. So all of them running around with their Black Lives Matter out and all that kind of stuff and hands up and all that, you guys are going to suffer a great cost in about 2 to 3 years. You don't know it yet, but it's going to happen, because the rest of us aren't going to continue watching you. Firstly, I don't think there's really anything exciting anymore watching the NFL right now. At least right now, I don't see anything exciting. The story about Green Bay's quarterback making the prophecy that they're going to run the table was absolutely wonderful. But my God, I mean, beyond that, what's watchable? It really isn't. Melanie, it was a struggle. I really thought Joe Behar was hot in 1983. Wow. No, that was Dave saying that. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with the non-commercial portion of our program. We're going to talk about the Obama dynasty. Oh, what terrible fortunes we have as a nation.
Meet Jason. He was really excited to start growing his business with social media until he realized how complex and time-consuming social media can be. It's difficult to manage multiple social networks and accounts. It's hard to monitor what's happening on social media, follow discussions, and engage with new followers. It's time-consuming to publish updates throughout the day, track and analyze how effective posts are, respond to fans and followers in a timely manner, and gain new customers. The list seems to go on and on. Jason quickly becomes discouraged. How could he ever do all of this and still run a business? He was ready to give up on social media until he found eClincher, the easiest way to manage social media. Jason was amazed how straightforward and simple it is to use eClincher. With eClincher, Jason is now able to leverage the power of social media without having to dedicate several hours a day. He can easily organize all his social media accounts in one place, efficiently plan and schedule his posts ahead of time, engage with his followers, understand the effectiveness of his efforts with powerful analytics, find new customers, and much more. In order to tell your business's story, simplify the process of managing your social media, and analyze results, sign up with eClincher today.
Now, Brownells, we know you may have only one shot to harvest that trophy, so we have thousands of accessories and replacement parts to improve your chances. We know how much you love to shoot, so our Gunsmiths articles and videos will help you do more and get more out of your guns. We also value your hard work and money. That's why only Brownells backs up everything we sell with a 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. Brownells, the world's largest supplier of firearm accessories and gunsmithing tools.
Welcome to Protecting Innocence. I'm Pastor Donovan Larkins, and we're going to share with you from a biblical view, but from also a world view of what's going on in our world. Child molesters and sexual predators are growing daily. The sex offender registry is growing in some parts of the country 40% a year. There are close to 800,000 registered sex offenders in the United States of America. Pedophiles are lobbying to legalize sex with children daily in Washington, D.C. Why would our government entertain pedophiles to gain legalization and in spite of the fact that they're hurting children? Several organizations estimate over 500,000 children will be born this year, and they will be sexually abused before they turn 18 if we do not prevent it. So here's the deal. Today's word of protection is scrutinize. Yes, scrutinize. Today's liberal society wants to tell us that to scrutinize is to be unloving, to scrutinize is to be, unchristian. Let me give you a definition of scrutinize. Scrutinize means to examine or inspect closely and thoroughly. Customers were warned to scrutinize the small print. That's an example of what scrutinize is. And today I'm letting you know that parents, you are your child's number one defense against child molesters. That means you have to do your job. That means you have to really step up your parenting. And so today's word for you parents is scrutinize. Scrutinize the relationships that your children have. Scrutinize those adults and children that seek to be in your children's life. Scrutinize, examine, determine whether or not they're good for your children or not. Sexual predators are not going to come out, child molesters are not going to come out and say, I'm a child molester. So therefore, you have to do your job. Effective parenting will scrutinize the relationships that you have in your life, or you will scrutinize the relationships that are in your children's life. What kind of relationships? Well, a coach. Scrutinize that relationship. And I say scrutinize it to the point, if necessary, that it would be like a thorn pricking that relationship, because then you'll get to know what the true nature of it is. Don't ignore the obvious. I have a policy in my life. When someone shows me who they are, believe it. And so many children could have been prevented the pain of victimization if they just had a parent or parents visiting the school on a semi-regular basis, asking the neighbor, can I come and visit you because your son or your daughter is spending time with my daughter or my son. Walking into someone's home, you can really size up what kind of lifestyle they live. The computer. Scrutinize what your children are watching on the computer. Scrutinize the kind of relationships they say they have on Facebook. Scrutinize is today's word of insight and authority. Now listen to this. Your child's teachers, coaches, scrutinize them. Let them know you will be evaluating their relationship with your children. Without scrutiny, a person can go bad and you won't even know it. That means someone could be good today and then decide that they want to feed off of pornography at night, and then your child ends up being the victim. So, scrutinize. Scrutiny is our word today. Parents, your relationship and your protection over your children is their number one defense against child molesters. This is not a joke. Child molesters are penetrating every avenue of our society. Church. Watch what church you go to. Because let me tell you something. When you let down your guard, and when you let down your defense, the molester will be there. Be well. Be safe.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the Exceptional Conservative Show this evening. I want you all to remember that the Shekinah Ranch is attempting, with us, TECN, to raise $10,000 for the summer program. Mary in the chat room says the fundraising is going too slow. I agree with you, Mary. I really do. But unfortunately, it is easier for people to raise funds after someone has been beaten and abused and tortured than it is to prevent it. It's just that case. I like to change that, and I hope that you like to change that with me. All you need to do is go to theexceptionalconservativeshow.com, click on the red button that you see that says Donate Today, Protect the Innocent. When you do that, money goes to help young people get the care that they need from the inner cities against molestation, sexual abuse, and abuses of all kinds. The Shekinah Ranch in Dayton, Ohio offers a rest place, a paradise per se, where children are allowed to recover and grow. They're trying to expand their ranch because the demand for their services greatly exceed their ability to provide. But they don't want to stop providing. They want to continue. Well, let's just put it this way. They would love not to provide it because the solution has been given and we no longer abuse our children. But until that time period, they want to be there to help and improve the lives of children. I ask you, I beg you, donate today. Make it a part of your resolution for 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, and it's true, I said it and I mean it. It's very true. It is easier for me to raise $100,000 after a young man has been beaten and abused and tortured for 48 hours than it is to try to raise $100,000 so that he doesn't have to suffer that. As much prevention isn't as sexy as rewarding our oversight. It's that simple. I wish I could be more, inspirational, but that's the truth. It's very difficult. But it takes soldiers like you all who are in the chat room, Claudia and Whitehead. I'm sorry, White Mama. Forget Whitehead. Oh my God. Mary, Melanie, and Dave to actually keep this going and help us arrive at our particular site. And I want to thank all of you all because I believe all of you all have committed to that particular pursuit. Ladies and gentlemen, what did we get out of the Obama years as we come to a close this particular night? What did we get? Besides the fact that Dr. John Fuller has to come on our program and talk about retiring the hate crime laws that literally racism, or at least the implications of racism, have gotten so outlandish that we're willing to burn down cities and even threaten to kill mentally delayed individuals. What did we get? Can I go down a list of things that we've gotten? I want to thank Sean Hannity for this list. $19.9 trillion national debt. The national debt has actually increased nearly $10 trillion since Obama took office. Have you ever spent money at a casino and walked out knowing that you didn't have the money that you started with? You didn't get any winnings? And you wonder what happened? Well, the casino called Obama is making the nation wonder what happened. What happened with $9.2 trillion? $1 trillion tax increase. $1 trillion tax increase. Where did that tax increase come from? It came from Obamacare. It came from Obamacare. So literally, while I'm sitting here with you tonight, there are many of us who are thinking to ourselves, where'd my money go? Think about it. $1 trillion for Obamacare, and the state of Oregon spent $1 billion on a website that never worked. Melanie asked, didn't the State Department lose $6 million? No, they didn't lose $6 million. They lost $6 billion. The State Department under Hillary Rodham Clinton lost $6 billion. But we're not through yet. This is the Obama legacy, if you want to know what it is. Estimated economic cost of all the new federal government regulations from Obama. Nearly $1 trillion. $870 billion to be exact. The trade deficit under Obama. So we're going to help China. China is a nation that's got to get help. $750 billion trade deficit. That means China gets $750 more from us than we get from them in profit. Student loan debt under Obama. Remember, the federal government took over the federal loan program, Department of Education. It took the banks completely out of it. $690 billion. And I want you to know something. You see this? This is what the football players do after they've done something big, especially Dallas Cowboy running back. Feed me, feed me. That $690 billion is growing every single day with interest. Feed me, feed me, feed me. If your student takes out that loan and doesn't pay it back, who pays that? We do. I never took a day of class in Shakespeare theater, but that kid who took the Shakespeare theater class, I'm paying for their class. Tax hikes under Obamacare, $377 billion. The projected cost of Obama's finalized Clean Power Plan regulation, $292 billion. We can keep doing this, baby. We're going to keep doing this all night long. $29 billion. The loss of coal production due to the Interior Department's new stream protection rule. New stream protection rule. That means in West Virginia, and John Manchin's really hustling now because he wants to keep his senatorial post, although West Virginia is slightly turning red. I hope he loses his spot. I really do. Conrad, would you please make certain that you all have a strong Republican running against John Manchin? Conrad, you should run against. Conrad Lucas should run against John Manchin. And a great senatorial piece. The goal is $10,000. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. They're still talking about it. Because the truth is, if I brought on TV through Ustream and Livestream, or tonight on my radio program, a 3-year-old girl who was raped, sodomized, and abused, by the time I finished my show, she would have had $100,000. But your $100,000 don't mean nothing to that little girl, because those imaginations and dreams and nightmares that come to her in the middle of the night, they don't go away. As much as we try to fight and help, they don't go away. Healing takes a long time. But if we could raise $100,000 so the shit little girl doesn't even have to go through all that. What I might do is extend that 7 days to see if I can do it by the end of the year, end of the month. We're gonna do our best. We're gonna do our best. I hope everybody contributes. I really do. But these are the legacies. 301,000 manufacturing jobs lost since Obama took office. 280,000 projected job loss due to the Interior Department's new stream protection rule. That means that Mr. Joe, who leaves his trailer in West Virginia, gets in his pickup truck and drives to the mine, may not be driving to the mine. 82,288, the number of criminal illegal immigrants released by Obama. 8,390, the increase in the average cost of tuition, fees, and room and board at a 4-year college. Why? Why is it increasing? Because, quite frankly, the government's going to pay for it. All of this is happening even as we speak. Also, you'll find in the Forbes magazine the writing by John Zogby. I want you to get what John Zogby says here because it's absolutely true. That Barack Obama may be the most racist president we've ever had. And that's comparing him to Woodrow Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot to dig from under. I hope that you have the stamina and the desire to overcome what has been put upon us. It's going to require us to, we're going to yell and we're going to scream and we're going to argue with each other sometimes along the way. But we got to be of one accord to resolve in unity the destruction of the socialism, the Marxism, the racism, and the ignorance put upon us in 8 years of this presidency. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't remember anything that I said tonight, I want you to remember this. God bless America. It's time now for America to bless God. Good night and God bless from Washington, D.C. We will see you tomorrow night when our guest will be the lovely, the talented Andy Katsina from Manchester, England. She will be talking with us about Fat Girl in the Sankara Parasite, PHAT, live before our 3 contributors, Lonnie Poindexter, Ralph Chittum's the Kraken, and as well, Shannon Wright joins us. Good night, and God bless you all.